All right, welcome everybody to episode, I think, 8. Yeah, got to be episode 8 of the Average Joecast.
We're not even keeping track.
Episode somewhere around there, below 10. But anyway, we're here at Big Island Guitars and Music Supply. We are the Average Joes. And our special guest for this edition of the Joecast, Mr. Stephen Roby.
Aloha. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for joining us, Steve. Yeah. I know I bugged you enough times to try and get us on. And
who's this guy, Ryan, bugging me on?
Pestered you enough to get us on Big Island Music Magazine and get you on the Joecast as well. So
my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for having us and gracing us with your presence. But anyway, what we're gonna do today is it's something fun. It's a dual interview. So we're trying to save time here. So Jason had a good suggestion. We'll just shoot questions at each other, one at each other and go from there. So where you guys want to start? You guys want to grill him first?
Yeah. I can't prepare that.
Oh, you did? We didn't.
So did I. They're written on my finger.
Average Joes, we never come prepared.
Yeah, it's like our music gig. It's like our music shows. We never come prepared. Right? But why don't you give us a story about Big Island Music Magazine and
sure.
Also where you came from and how this all got started.
Wow. How long do we got?
All night.
Okay. I'm Stephen Roby. I started an online publication called Big Island Music Magazine at bigislandmusic.net. And it started in 2017. Basically, it's an online publication that covers the music and entertainment scene here on the Big Island. We do concert reviews, we do interviews, we do podcast, we do video, and a lot more. And we also announce upcoming shows like these guys here, the Average Joes. Wow, that rhymed. Okay. And so it's expanding. And I did something similar in the San Francisco Bay Area where I'm from. I worked for various online and print publications. And when I came here, I noticed there was no publicist. The bands need a lot of help. So I started Big Island Music Magazine in the hopes that I could help contribute to the Big Island music scene and watch it grow and make it the community come together. So
cool.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Nice.
So when was the magazine or this avenue founded, and how long ago did you start this? And
I started it online in 2017. Just a couple articles up there. Started working with like the Kihilu Theater, the Aloha Theater. Got to know some bands. But as part of my education here on the Big Island, and as a music journalist, I thought I should do a documentary to get out there, travel the island.
It's called, should ride in a van with us.
Oh Lord! The documentary it's about a 90-minute documentary. It's on YouTube. It's called "Living on a Rock: A Big Island Music Story," and it travels from Kona to Hawaii to Waimea to Onaka'a down to Hilo, and I interview a variety of different people in the media, bands, solo musicians, and it kind of all comes together. And I also did a portion of it at the Hawaii Songwriting Festival and got to interview several of the big names in the recording music industry and their take on our music scene here. So if you go to YouTube, you go to Big Island Music Magazine's page there, you can watch the movie for free and get an idea of what it's all about.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
And you said you're going to kind of check back on it or kind of revisit it in a few years.
You know, I thought it'd be kind of fun to revisit the documentary in 5 years and see where people are in 2022, and if they're still making music, what their opinion of the music scene is. Hopefully it's grown, it's gotten a lot bigger, and people have all come together.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess since we've asked the first questions.
Okay, my turn. Okay, and jump in whoever wants to. Give me a brief history, the backstory of the Average Joes. How long have you guys been playing? Just kind of touch on the basics of what you guys play and how long you've been together.
We've been together, 3 years?
Just
3 years, jamming 3 years together. And I actually started knowing his wife. I worked with his wife, and we went to a backyard party, and he was just playing some really good classic rock. And I thought that was his wife, my coworker at the time. I'm like, oh, you like really good music? No, that's all my husband. Kind of just shrugged off. So I actually just started talking to him more. He found out I could play drums. I told him, I play drums. He looked me up on YouTube He
Stalked.
stalked me.
Because you know how people oh yeah, I play drums and whatever, and you're like yeah, whatever. But then I found out what college you went to, and every college almost you go to, like Grayson's from UH Mano, has a drum line.
Yeah.
So I looked up the college on YouTube, drum line, and lo and behold, this guy's in the front row playing drums. So, and I told him, if you can do what you're doing there, what we're doing is easy. So,
Yeah. So.
and then,
we kind of started that.
yeah, that kind of started, and he actually filled in with my previous band on a few shows.
That's right. That's right.
And then Scott and I always wanted to do stuff together, but we were in separate bands. And Grayson and I used to play on our church's worship team, but I'll let them give you their backstory.
Well, I knew the project was or the previous band was ending, and they had their last show, and I think it was like not even 2 weeks later, Ryan shoots me a message of, "Hey, I'm starting something new. I need a bass player." So I was like, "Let's do it."
All right.
He said he already had a drummer, and the original origin was Ryan, Jason, and
So
myself.
when did you guys come up with the name? Was it Average Joe's right from the start?
No, it was actually the first rendition was Circle of Trust.
Oh my goodness. Almost embarrassing.
Circle of Trust.
Yeah, and
We got put it this way. We got booked for gigs before we even had a band.
Oh no.
So we needed a name. So
But the Average Joe's name came after a few trying attempts of various difficulties, and so we kind of disregarded the previous name. Ryan came up with Average Joe's, and it's pretty much.
And so where does Average Joe's come from?
the movie Dodgeball.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the band, we're not like rock stars. You won't find Brad Pitt in this band. We're a bunch of average Joes. You know?
Well,
Which one's
close.
Joe?
None of
We're
us.
all Joe. Average Joe's is the brand. But like I say, we feel we're the ultimate underdogs. And for me, my history in Hilo, I've always been kind of the black sheep against the grain kind of guy. The way I operate and the way I do things, kind of. It's not in the open, but I feel I kind of get shunned from the other musicians.
You were telling me you're kind of a little bit of OCD with the cables.
Oh,
and
my
everything,
God.
setting
A
up and,
lot.
Just the way
Not a
with
little bit.
every
certain standard level.
everything we do it's different by design, and I'm very OCD about that. And what I discussed with you earlier was when you go to a show, the stage is part of the show too. And if you show up with a messy stage and a bunch of music stands and cords and cables all over the place, it kind of shows that you don't care.
But that transfers also over into your music too.
Yes.
Because your set lists are tight.
We do
You were
set lists,
saying,
100% set lists.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
we don't pick them off a list because we run a tight ship, and time wise we try to keep our shows fast paced and flowing.
Yeah.
So if we know what we're doing ahead of time, we can squeeze more songs in. which-
Right.
It's all science.
I think that's kind of unique that, especially playing the type of gigs you play, kind of bar bands and bars. And,
Tell them about the arena shows.
Right.
But I mean, your goal is to keep people on the dance floor.
Yeah,
Right.
we're trying to bring an arena show to a club. That's basically what
Yeah.
it is.
How do you do that?
Just play your butts off.
just big lights and screens.
Lots of lights, lots of smoke, lots of interaction. We try
Lots
to
of good music.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot good music, of course.
yeah.
I think a lot of it sets us apart too is like we interact with the crowd. So like they're all on wireless, so they'll go out into the crowd to like the people in the back corner
Oh,
that
that's
aren't
nice.
like So
Yeah.
if you're there,
How
it's
far
like-
can you go wireless?
I don't
Probably
know.
like 100.
100, 200 feet maybe.
Yeah.
I saw a guy, a guitar player in San Francisco, do that once. Kind of small club, maybe 200 or 300 people. But he walked outside of the club and was playing on a busy.
We've done that.
At Laverne's,
Did that in
Yeah.
Kona.
Ali'i Drive, we're
Yeah.
on the wall.
Yeah.
Outside of the bar.
Oh, you got to get some footage of that.
Yeah, we
Like
probably
waves
have
crashing
videos
on
somewhere.
one side,
Yeah.
Yeah.
traffic on the other.
But
Yeah.
It's
and
nice.
and it's all you got to put on a show. I mean, it's what it is.
Oh,
You can't
yeah.
just get up there and play. And part
Yeah,
of
yeah.
one of the many sayings we have is we don't play for you, we play with you. And if we
Yeah.
keep the crowds involved, it ends up growing into something more than just patron band. We end up what we call growing our friend base. We don't grow a fan base. We grow a friend base.
Well, tell me about the music you play. What styles?
I'll
of music?
let Grayson, because Grayson's like the musical encyclopedia
Music is
here.
life. It says on his t-shirt.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, we play a good mix, like pop, rock, top 40, funk.
But
Pretty much-
you're the youngest member, right?
Yes.
We're
yes,
probably the most knowledgeable
And you keep these guys up to date. What's the
with everything.
with the latest current
Don't lie, Grace.
Wow.
music?
I mean, I'm kind of an old soul myself. I listen to a lot of like 70s, 80s kind of
Yeah.
Beatles, Elton John, that kind of stuff. So It's,
Who's keeping up on the current?
Probably
Pockets.
him and him. Yeah, so
Yeah.
Jason and Grayson are like Scott and I are like old farts.
We're stuck in the 80s, you know.
I'm so stuck in
Rush
the
and,
That's why I'm glad I
yeah.
have these guys. So, but
Well, good. I'll turn it back over to you.
okay, like when you formed this publication thing, what was your goal in mind? And you know, like who are some of the people you got to meet? You know, with this thing that you're doing.
Well, I come from a music journalist background. I've written 3 books, and they've been published. I've been featured in the New York Times. Rolling Stone has interviewed me. I've been in Guitar World, Guitar Player, a lot of other. I've lectured about music at universities in the United States and Canada. And so I wanted to bring that experience with me to the Big Island. And when I got here, I was after shooting 4 or 5 nights in San Francisco at places like the Warfield Theater, the Regency Ballroom, the Fillmore, I got here and got to put the brakes on. So I kind of hooked up with the Kahului Theater and got to know, they bring in the biggest name bands on the island, and then putting the documentary together as what I told you about before. It was kind of part of my education. So I noticed that the local papers were doing very little coverage of the music scene. They'd run a press release and try to promote ticket sales on the front end, which is good, but I appreciate good journalism where I know people like to read less and just like to get quick video shots and photos like that, but I want to document these times too. I want to have something on the web where people can go back in 5 or 10 years and say, oh, look, the Average Joe's played here on a Saturday and things like that. Because you're going to have fans, beyond 2019, right?
We hope. Yeah.
And they'll want to look back on this and go, oh, wow, look at these guys when they were young, and things like that. So, part of it is to do good music journalism, but also document these times.
So you said you've written 3 books. What are those books? What's the titles of the books, and where can we find them?
Okay, full disclosure, I'm a big Jimi Hendrix fan, archivist, historian. I've worked for the family of Jimi Hendrix. I saw him 3 times in concert, and what turned out to be his last American concert on Oahu at what was then called the HIC Arena. So I was 15 at the time. So when we're about that age, we all get our musical influences that stick. But I became kind of more than a fan. It was learned that there were audience recordings, and so I had piles and piles of cassette recordings, and I was trading with fans all over the world. So let's cut ahead about 20 years, and I started a zine, they were called when things were printed on paper.
Yeah.
And it quickly grew to an international fanzine on Jimi Hendrix. Went to work for the family of Jimi Hendrix. But all these years and decades had gone by, I'd compiled a lot of information on Hendrix. So I put it together in a book. First book was called Black Gold, The Lost Archives of Jimi Hendrix, but then discovered more information on him. So I wrote kind of his pre-fame years called Becoming Jimi Hendrix. And the last book that came out a few years ago called Hendrix on Hendrix. It's a collection of all his interviews starting with 1966 up until his last interview. And 2 of the books, one of them was a new LA Times bestseller, and the other one got great coverage and reviews in the New York Times. So I'm very proud of that. So
Nice.
But Jimi Hendrix aside, that's kind of where I learned my music journalism, about interviewing people, contacting the press. I personally have been on, through the book tours, have been on over more than 100 radio stations worldwide, and a few TV stations doing interviews. So it's I'm hoping to bring that here to the Big Island.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, can we find those books anywhere? Or?
Yeah, Amazon is your best choice. Type in my name, Stephen Roby, Roby, and pops 3 book choices.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So you're based out of where? Honokaa.
Honokaa. And I'm starting to get a few more writers and photographers, because I haven't figured out how to be in 3 places at once. So I got a couple people in Kona, starting to get a few people in Hilo, and my goal is to kind of cover most of the island with reporters and things like that, and certainly do more than the newspapers are doing. And unfortunately, I think I posted on Facebook that the 2 local papers here fired a bunch of staff, and so they're going to be doing less entertainment news. And so hopefully I'll be able to pick up the slack there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and that's where we kind of come in too, as far as like promo and all this other stuff, like social media. We're relentless at it, and that's kind of how I came across your magazine, because we're on social media a lot, and I think we're one of the few bands that promo as much as we do.
You do,
yeah.
You do.
So, and well, we feel you gotta fish if you want to eat. A lot of bands here, they expect the gigs to come to them and the crowds to come, but you got to put in the work off stage before you do that.
Right. Yeah.
But when I saw that, I was like, hey, this is an avenue for us to get our name out there. We're not trying to get famous, but we want people to come to our shows, and I thought this was a good avenue to try and get our name out there. Being selfish, but not being selfish. So I reached out and I'm like, we got to get on as many outlets as we can.
That's so important,
and it's paid off, because I told you when we've pre-chatted, we're probably the busiest man on the Big Island.
Yeah. What you attribute that to? The self-promotion.
Self-promotion. We work really hard, and we're accessible, very accessible.
Well, give me an idea of how busy you are.
Oh, geez, at least once a week. On average 3 to 4 times a month. There's other bands that will probably have multiple shows per week, but we all have regular jobs, so it's kind of hard to do that. But
but you play both sides of the island, right?
Yes.
Hilo, Kona, and
whoever else will have us.
Well, what's the biggest challenge for musicians like that playing the Big Island here?
I think a lot of it, for me, and these guys can jump in at any time, I think a lot of them here, they compare it to either Oahu or the mainland, thinking that they can make a lot of money playing. But our philosophy is we love to play, and money is never ever discussed in this band. As far as when we get a gig, like Scott said earlier, you tell us where and when we play. If we get paid, it's blessing, it's extra, So, and I think just us being as flexible as we are and not caring about the pay side, and we're easy to work with the venues, and I think the venues appreciate that, so they keep having us back.
Yeah, that's great.
I think one of the challenges too is like when I moved back to Hilo back in 2009, I think from what I understand, the music scene was pretty happening back then, and it was right around the time the economic downturn that a lot of bands, not a lot of venues, just decided to cut live music. So now it's like we only have Hilo Town Tavern, and just a handful of other places here that still have live music.
So so kind of the bands are at the mercy of the venues, when it was the other way around before. The venues would be kind of reaching out, hey, we need you guys here, but not so much now.
Is there a distinction between bands from Hilo, say, versus bands from Kona? Is there a different style of music? You've been versatile enough to play both sides of the island. Is there a different style?
I wouldn't say so much different style of music, because you have, matter of fact, I think it's kind of the same on both sides. You have it's more of a classic to oldies crowd, and musician, I call it the musician's pasture. They play pretty much all the same stuff, and I think it's more the crowds, because the Kona crowd, we get a lot of tourists, and they're a lot more versed in a lot of what's happening outside of the rock, so a lot of people here won't get what we do, because like I told you earlier, it's like playing for your aunt and your uncle on this side of the island. But when you go to the west side, it's a lot of tourists and new faces every gig, and they know the songs that we do, so it goes over really well. But we have our following over here too.
Are the gigs more steady in Kona?
For us, yeah.
Is there a certain percentage you play more gigs in Kona than you do Hilo? Or
we tend to gravitate towards Kona because of the energy that they give us, and we feed off good energy, and we feel very appreciated over there. And it's like I said, it's the pay for us is not money, it's just the energy we get from the crowd. That's our reward, and that's why we keep going back over there. It's worth the drive.
What are some of the fun places to play over there?
Oh, Laverne's
number one.
Yeah. Why is that?
Oh man, because it's right on Ali'i Drive, and because they hear us playing and they'll come running up the stairs.
Oh, wow.
So
and it's a very transient crowd. So it's like hour to hour, it's always a different crowd. Show to show, it's always going to be a different
so
crowd.
You do like 2 shows a night or something?
No, we do 2 sets, but
sets,
it's like
it's nonstop high energy fun for when we hit the stage. So, and then we just started playing at Corner Pocket up in Kealakekua.
Yeah, that's right.
gaining new friends over there, and that gig went really well. You know?
Uh-huh.
And then I think they're so used to having a certain type of music. When we come in with our brand, it's like a breath of fresh air. And so
Nice.
I think another thing what's cool about Kona's gigs is, I mean, people come from all over the world to see Hawaii and its beauty. So we
make
like
memories.
on our on our band page, we have friends that have liked our page in the UK, the Netherlands, all over the place. So that's really cool. Like we're like, yeah, we're international.
over here,
So
it's
it seems
no
like we're-
disrespect to the people on the side, but it's the same crowds. Wherever you go, because not too many tourists from off island nightlife on this side. So
Well, I won't say the name of the venue up the street there, but I was kind of disappointed. I went in there with my wife for lunch a couple weeks back, and I said, "Do you guys still have live music here?" And he goes, "Yeah." I said, "How can people find out who's playing?" And he kind of like looked around to see if his boss was listening. He says, "I said I looked on your website. All I see is the menu."
yeah, and that's the thing, because nobody really promos hard like we do. I mean, in this band, it's mandatory. We have to, because we believe that if we promo hard 10, 20 times a week, if we get one, we done our job.
Okay, free promo plug here. Where are you playing this weekend?
We're supposed to be at Hilo Town Tavern this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Supposed
Supposed
to.
to
We all.
yeah. Well, there's some things happening that's kind of out of our control, but as far as we know, we're still there until
Okay.
further notice.
But we can guarantee you that on the 29th, we'll be at the
Hilo-
Wainaku Executive Center.
I love that
for the
spot.
Hilo
We're
Brew
going to be at
Fest.
the Brew Fest. Yeah.
The Brew
That,
Fest.
yes, that one we can tell you for sure.
That one,
29th.
expect world domination in that one. They've never seen any band like us before.
Are there multiple bands?
Yeah, there's 3 bands.
Okay.
3 bands.
And
We will leave out those other names.
well, I mean, we love them. We're all friends, but
okay.
just I wouldn't want to be ahead of us or after us. Put it that way. That's-
Do you know your slot yet?
yeah, we're the second band, so
Okay.
not good for the ones in front or the ones in back. So, I mean, confident, but I'm proud of these guys, and I believe in our product and our brand. So, if we're not confident, then you shouldn't be doing it. So.
What's the best advice you'd give for up and coming musicians that aren't as busy as you guys here on the
Promo
island?
like hell.
Hustle,
Hustle.
Hustle.
Yeah.
hustle.
Don't be
Hustle,
shy.
Sell your brand.
What does that mean? Does that mean contacting the
Get out,
venue, the
yes.
gig?
Get out there
Um,
and put your name out there, and be very persistent to where it's almost irritating.
Do you don't have like a promo reel or some audio that, I mean, back on the mainland to sell yourselves as a
I actually, before these guys, we got together, my previous band, and out of respect for these guys, I'm not going to mention the name of the band. I actually went to Kona with a press kit, with a DVD, flyers, cards, and with a packet. I walked up to them, and I personally looked up the manager, and I said, "Give us a gig. You don't have to pay us. Just we want to audition, and if you want to hire us, hire us. But if not, at least we tried." And just for just showing that confidence in my product, that was enough for them to give
You
us
got
a
to
try.
get it.
And then when they hire you, you better make sure you put on a show. So, and that's where we talked about different by design. We want to do.
But say like you want to contact, say there's a new venue coming up, either Hilo or Kona side like that, and they for some reason haven't heard of you. Where would you direct them to? Like, well, what do you guys play? How do you sound? What do you use as your tool to?
YouTube.
Facebook.
Facebook, YouTube, Instagram.
YouTube,
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause
Social
all
media
of our
nowadays.
all of our shows are like recorded, and then he'll go through and edit it, so
Put
it's
it on
not like
YouTube.
2-3 hours
Yeah,
long.
yeah, the
It's-
highlights.
Even
Yeah.
with the editing, it's like hour and a half.
Right. Yeah. So that would be my advice to any up and comers that are just trying to get in there. Is
Sell your
like
product.
Ryan said, be confident in yourself and in your band to say, you know what, give us that opportunity, and
We'll prove to you.
yeah. So I think as a musician,
Don't give up.
Yeah.
don't give up, and then
It
just
comes
keep
across, well,
pushing
maybe
at
not
it.
for these 3, but for me, it comes across as being arrogant. But I believe in this band. I truly believe in this band, and I believe in our product and what we
Yeah.
bring.
It's not really arrogance, but it's pride. I would say.
Pride and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
all take
That
ownership.
was one of the things that impressed me about you. Is like, this guy's not giving up.
No, and you don't.
This guy, I better do this interview.
Yeah,
Like,
and
gum on a hot
it's,
summer
it's
day.
the same way with all the venues. You bug them enough to where it's irritating. All you need is that one shot, and that's like going into your question. I would give advice to any young people coming up: is just get your one shot. But when you get your one shot, you better make sure they
Double
remember
down
you.
on that.
They remember you. So, and that's kind of what we do. You know, like when we roll up to a venue, like, oh, who is these guys? And then when we hit our first note, we kick them in the nuts and game over. So,
Musically, we kick.
not literally, but
we
yeah,
kick them in the nuts.
We have that
Musically.
we have that oh my god factor is like what just hit us, you know, because like I said, we're different by design, and our catalog is very carefully picked as well. So we make sure that we have no doubt or strong hits songs from start to finish. We don't have any weak songs at all in our set.
I got a question for the whole group here. Kind of an oddball question here, but living or dead, who would you like to have in your band?
Not me. No.
As an addition,
Well,
a
that's
fifth player.
Oh man, that's a loaded question because
wow.
you know this band, everybody's like influenced by so many different people.
This,
So.
you got to pick.
Okay, well we'll start with the wizard there. He's
Living or dead?
doesn't have to be your instrument of choice. Your instrument. Could be
Anybody.
any, yeah.
Anybody? Beethoven.
Wow.
Time's up.
All the guys in Hanson.
Yeah, exactly. Can I name a band? Hands. No. Well, I think for me,
We'll come back to Grayson
I would go out on the vocalist side. Bruce Dickinson.
from Iron Maiden.
All right.
Jason.
Like I said, he doesn't say much, but he carries a big stick on stage. So
Since we need a better guitar player, I would go with Carlos Santana.
he's like
Oh.
Santana fan.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Fired.
Yeah. And he's still living.
Of course,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
So
For
come
me-
on over. Come on over.
For me, this will totally catch everybody off guard because I'm like an '80s metal kid. Prince.
Wow.
Oh, that's a good
Prince.
one.
Wow.
Yeah, I like that.
'Cause that
one.
guy brings everything to the
Mojo.
That mojo.
Yeah.
Engine.
man.
Energy.
The only guy that could dress in purple in heels and still be more man than
And
you are.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Prince. Yeah, I'm a closet Prince fan, so
Not anymore.
not anymore. but nobody will slag me for that because that guy's a badass.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, back to Grayson.
Drum roll.
Okay. Freddie Mercury.
Oh, that's a good one, man.
that's
That's
another
a killer
good
one. Man.
Wow.
That's a killer one. What about you, Steve?
Yeah, how about you?
Oh, I'm not in the band.
If you
You
had
are
a
now.
band.
You're an honorary Joe now.
Oh,
You're
okay.
welcome to the friend base.
Who would you like to interview, dead or alive?
Yeah, there you go. That's a good one.
Well, of course,
I like
Jimmy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know. Of course, yeah. Yeah, that would be.
Here's a good question.
Yeah.
What's in your? I don't want to say CD collection. What's
What's in your playlist?
What's in your playlist right now?
That's good. I like Spotify. I know it doesn't pay musicians well, and you guys will probably hate me for that. But
Not in it for the money. So whatever.
I'm all over the board. I've got close to 3,000 songs on my playlist, but I go from pop, rock, jazz. Have you ever heard of Hiatus Coyote?
I don't know. Maybe Grayson has. Have you heard of him? He's like the most knowledgeable one.
Coming
all
from
of us.
San Francisco with all the different musicians coming in that weren't really on my radar before, like that, and then I'll throw in something just off the wall because I grew up at a time when radio could be wacky and cool at the same time, and you'd be listening to, say, like the Doors, and then somebody would throw in a word jazz poet or something like that. So when it all plays back, and it's just like a smorgasbord of different music. So yeah.
So what did you listen to on the way down here?
You know,
We're going to get to the bottom
that's
of
a
this.
good question. I forgot something that I even put in my playlist, and there was this really cool jazz bed of music, and this guy was talking about the different jazz players all over from the years, from Count Basie, Coltrane, Miles Davis, Billie Holiday, Ella Fitzgerald, and he's like, it was kind of an older guy, but he was kind of doing a rap thing to it, and it's like, what is this? Where did this? I put this in there. I don't even remember doing it. So I like.
So you a big
surprises.
jazz fan then?
You know, I miss good jazz. When I was living in San Francisco, actually living in Oakland, there was a great jazz club, small jazz club, about 200 people, called Yoshi's, and I got to see like McCoy Tyner, who used to play piano with John Coltrane.
No, so like the bebop jazz and
Yeah,
stuff.
well, not more like fusion jazz. I mean, like Jean-Luc Ponty and Jaco Pastorius.
Oh my goodness! And now
We
you
just
said the
don't,
name and
we just don't get that level here.
No,
I mean,
no.
I've seen some things
So
like that.
what I was gonna say was, I mean, I'm throwing them a bone, so you guys better give me credit for this. Like, have you been to the Kukwao studio before?
Yeah, I know Bub.
Yeah, Bub, yeah.
was in my movie. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Oh, cool.
yeah, so I just thought that you might. So you know him, so I
Yeah,
have
he
to tell you
does
about
slam
him.
poetry. I mean, hats off to Bub for doing what he does, and there's no other place like Kukwao Studio.
We'd like to throw a concert in his place. That wouldn't go over very well. I don't think.
Maybe a New Year's thing or something.
Yeah.
Maybe the volume would be like excessive.
Yeah.
So like, family, married, kids. I mean, you have family with you here.
I have my wife and 2 cats, and that's it. That's about all I can handle. And an acre's worth of land's the most land I've ever had and lived on, and it's so nice. I can see the ocean. So different than San Francisco. I mean, my heart is in San Francisco, as the song
So
goes.
San Francisco, are you like a Journey fan? Because I'm a huge Journey fan. So no, not the new Journey, like the old progressive stuff.
It got played to death on
Yeah.
radio.
Well, only because Neil Sean is like one of my heroes.
I met and I've interviewed Neil Sean. He's a super nice guy, but I mean, when you hear when the lights go down in the city
Over for the 8
and
millionth
it's,
time.
and it's playing, and you're looking out at the Golden Gate Bridge, and the sunset's going down. I get it. Enough.
Well, it's kind of like you back in Utah when you're playing Guns N' Roses every night
Oh yeah,
of the week.
that,
right?
that Guns N' Roses album came out, the Appetite for Destruction, and the cover band I was in there. We played every single song on that album, and I was so tired of it. But it ended up being like one of the most gigantic albums ever.
Oh yeah.
And then
yeah,
when
yeah.
you come here, everybody's playing like "Sweet Child of Mine." Like, oh,
Yeah, I know.
why?
I mean, I've worked in radio before, and I feel sorry for some of the rock stations we have here. They have such a tight playlist, and there's no expansion, and they have to play the favorites.
And it is because
yeah.
I mean, I like the rock stations here, but I find myself going to internet radio just to finding stuff that I like.
Yeah, I mean,
Well-
it's sort of like what print media is fading away, and so the radio.
Well, once the corporate aspect got into it, that's when everything just kind of, I don't want to say fell apart, but it got so, ultra defined that, a lot of the influences kind of faded out.
They had to play what they're told, and they can't say much more than what's coming up and what they just play and do a live read for a commercial, and I've got one last question for you guys. What was your weirdest concert experience ever?
You have enough time?
Oh my gosh. I got proposed to in the corner pocket
At a concert?
at one of the
Among other things.
One of our shows.
I think
at one of our shows.
for me,
Did you accept? Or?
I was busy playing drums. I was being professional.
Oh, okay.
We talked later though. No.
you're sitting around a bunch of band nerds, so you're not gonna find too much rock star stuff here. We're all in band, So, but for me, I think, and I don't know if you guys will agree, but I think it was the Bop night. It's like
Yes.
we call it Bop night because that gentleman down there, I'll share with you in a second. It was like the tail end of the Kona Brew Fest, so we got the leftovers at Laverne. So it was already a good gig. It was like a lot of people, and they were really digging what we do. And then we decided to give Grayson a solo slot, like just by himself. It started Queen's Court, I think it was.
Yes.
Yeah. We played Queen's Court, and we let him just be up there with his piano and do a medley of songs. So he usually does like Elton John, Beatles. What else did you do?
Queen?
No, I think that was it, right?
Elton John and Beatles, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
And then some of the women that were there on vacation was a bridal shower, yeah? So it's a bridal shower and brew fest. Go figure,
Oh.
okay? So he starts doing his solo slot, and I think one of the people from the bridal shower goes, play some Hanson. Hanson, the band. Play Bop. And then he breaks out Bop. They didn't know that it's one of his favorite bands, and it ended up being one of the best night we've ever had.
You guys knew how to play it?
No, he
No,
played
he
it by
just played it
himself.
on the-
So he became a rock star that night.
and it's funny because I was totally expecting Elton John.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out what the heck this piano piece is, and he
And you
starts
heard all the
singing.
girlies screaming.
And he starts singing. I'm like, wait, it's Bop.
And it was the best thing he ever did.
Really? Just a solo performance?
Yeah.
Yep. Well, in fact, we have a picture of him with
bunch
the
of
girls
ladies.
all around him while he was singing.
So he was the rock star of the evening.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Well, we have many experiences though. We don't look like a rock band, but we've had many rock band experiences. Trust me. So What
Good.
about you guys?
Oh, I don't know. Pole dancers. we've had pole dancers at times just show up and yes,
Oh, our conga lines are insane.
yeah.
So we do a song called Blurred Lines by Robin Thicke. It's kind of a trademark thing for us, and we play that song, and then we start, because we're wireless, we start going around the barn. And that night was the biggest one they've ever had. It was like a continuous one all
Well,
around
and
the
the,
whole
the other fun one we did was at the Lapahoe
La
Music
Pahoe Music
Festival.
Festival.
Because I mean, we had a big open field that we were on, and
Whoa. Yeah.
So we're very interactive. It's like one of our sayings is, you don't listen to us, you experience us when you play. And I think that's what sets us apart from every other band in town.
What's the best way for somebody that wants to book you for a show? How can they contact you?
We're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we give out Kevin, our fifth member there. He's officially the fifth member of them. He has a handful of cards, and then as soon as people walk in, he's giving them cards. And then what we do is, like, usually we get there like super early when we set up. When we were eating and kind of unwinding,
This guy's funny.
we'll go ahead and acknowledge some of the patrons there, give them cards and stuff. Just strike up conversation. And then
So, like on Facebook, what would I just type in? Average
just type in
Joe's?
Average Joe's Band Hilo, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we make sure we're accessible to the crowd and tell them spread the gospel of Joe, the Average Joes, and just be fun. And then word gets around, friend of a friend of a friend of a friend.
and plus, with Kevin's size, I mean, who's going to tell him no when he's handing out a business
And we're
card,
also
right?
You got to stick your head in the shot.
we're really easy to book too, because the way we book from everybody else is we don't have a set price. Like people will, we charge $800 for 2 hours. No, not with us. Whenever somebody approaches us about a gig, we tell them we'll work with your budget. You give us a price. If it's fair and we're available, we'll do it.
Wow.
So we don't even, price is not
That's
even
hard to
discussed.
find, huh?
And that's why we were busy. So, and we take real pride in that too. That we love to play, and it's one of our things. We really love to play, and money's never an issue. And then
great.
Yeah.
just to keep live music alive, because if people get selfish and worry about getting paid all the time, venues aren't going to hire you. Sometimes you got to take the small gigs before you can take the big ones.
And like for us, the business model has always been, I mean, we're going to take the community gigs here and there.
Oh yeah.
Because what it comes down to is that we're looking at big picture, and the big picture is there's going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 people that from that show that will come up at some time later on and say, hey, I saw you at this show.
Word of mouth.
Yeah, can you play at this function for us?
And that's why you have to, what we do, you have to make sure it's memorable, because they're like we did a birthday party, and this lady that hired us remembered us from something we did a year or so prior. She said, I remember from you this gig, and you guys are so fun. I had to look you guys up, and she reached out through the page and stuff like that. So
Nice. That's all I've got.
you guys got anything for Mr. Steve here? Oh, so what is your hope for the music scene here on the Big Island, as far as what you want to see? More Average Joes.
More Average Joe's concerts.
Get us into Kuhila. We'll rock that place.
My wish list, number one, is that there would be a publicist on the island. Just one. One publicist that would contact me and send me regular press releases of things like that. That would make me happy. Well, but the big goal is, of course, is to see the music scene thrive. And I try to list as many upcoming shows that are coming on the island, and sometimes I get feedback on Facebook. Well, you didn't mention enough bands that are playing in Hilo. It's like there's,
Well, the band's got to do their part too.
You know,
that's my big beef.
there's a part on the contact site. If you go to bigislandmusic.net, you go to the contact page. There's just a form. You can send me, hey, we're the Average Joe's band. We're playing the Hilo Town Tavern this Saturday. The show starts at 7. And like you did, a couple weeks before your shows, you sent me a list of your shows. And I try to get the word out there. And so I'm kind of testing this calendar thing. West Hawaii Today does that, but it's kind of mostly for the Kona side. And this weekend, I'm going to just try to pick like the 5 best shows you should go see this weekend. So I'm kind of just trying to, I want to see people get out to shows. I want to see bands thrive. I want to see the music community. I want to interview more people like yourselves, and hopefully we'll be known as, the Nashville of the Pacific or something.
Right.
There you go.
So where can we find your the Big Island Music Magazine? Like what other outlets?
I wish it was in print, but print is just a disaster to try to distribute, to print up, to find a printer, especially here on the island, to get it out. So I think online publication is the way it is now at bigislandmusic.net is the way to go. Plus, with social media and the website, if a show happened, say last Saturday at the Hilo Palace, by the time I get home, put up a photo and say, watch for our upcoming show and review. And people, if they didn't make the show, they can see what the band looked like and kind of get a feel of what happened. For example, last Saturday at the Hilo, I interviewed the trio that was playing there. We did an audio interview, and who else is doing a backstage interview with the top band that's playing the Palace Theater that you're going to hear an interview on the island? The local papers aren't doing it.
Yeah, I saw some of the articles and stuff you're doing, like the one on the 6-string fling and some of the other stuff. I was like, we can do that. He was like,
Yeah.
We should be there. And that's why I reached out. I was like,
Yeah.
just me being the competitive person I was like, we can be there. We should be there. I'm going to reach out to this guy.
Yeah, and I hope other bands and musicians do that too. For example, Drew Daniels. I don't know if you saw the article on him. He was a survivor of the Puna lava flow. Lost his house, lost everything. But instead of just like saying, what am I going to do now? He created a music video. He has a new single, a new album coming out. He's doing shows. I put his article up on, like, say, a Tuesday with the video the day it released and got the word out on Facebook and on the website. The following day, that article and his video got over almost 1,000 shares on Facebook. And I'm like, wow. I thought that was pretty amazing.
That is.
Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should come out to one of our shows and give a review. Well, maybe not. Maybe not.
I'd like to take some photos.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You have anything there, Mr. Jason?
I don't. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you for
But
having
anyway,
me on the Joecast.
Mr. Stephen Roby, everybody from Big Island Music Magazine. And then
I guess shows for my audience.
Thank you. Oh, so Scott, can you give a rundown of what we got coming up next?
Okay, well, like I said, for definitely for sure, on the 29th of this month, we're going to be at the Wainaki Executive Center for the Hilo Brew Fest. We're still not too sure about.
Anytime there's an open date, we may get a book. We may get a game. But
it's funny every time we say that. We got to break. The phone rings, right? And then July 4th, we're going to be at the Queens Marketplace for July 4th.
4 to 4:45.
Yeah. But other than that, for future dates, check out the Average Joe's band page on Facebook. I think
I can kind of give July. I think July 13th, we're at Waioli Lounge. The following week, we're at Laverne's, which is what, the 21st, 20th. And then 27th, we're supposed to be at Hilo Town Tavern again. And then we have a private party on August 8th. And then I think every third Saturday, we're normally at Laverne's in Kona. And then this person right here will be departing the band. Yeah, he's leaving. We'll let you tell the story.
I'm going to get my master's degree in occupational therapy. Wow. So I will be back, Grayson.
No, you won't.
So we're trying to shower him with gifts to keep him from leaving.
That's for another Joecast.
Another Joecast. Or
not.
And he helps take care of his Hanai dad, so Scott and I were going to go throw him down the stairs, so he has to stay even longer.
Total jokes. Don't believe this guy.
Well, this band, we're all friends before we were band, so
yeah, so
that's how we show love.
Other. Yeah.
But anyway, Steve, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
It's an honor.
And of course, we'd like to thank Spencer Huna, owner of Big Island Guitars and Music Supply, for allowing us to invade his space over here.
He's also in Beyond Paradise.
Yes.
Best convention band on the island.
And your audio video tech.
Kevin Sabate over there,
Thank you,
the fifth
Kevin.
member of the Average Joes.
Who's not paying attention to us right now.
But anyway, thank you, Steve, once again. And it's an honor.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Hopefully shower us some good reviews on it. But anyway, check us out. I'm gonna have this thing posted probably by tomorrow already. Average Joe's Facebook page, Instagram, Twitter, and I think we're on Reverb Nation, but that one's kind of shaky. But check us out, everybody. Stephen Roby, Big Island Music Magazine.
studio. That's it.
I'm Grayson.
I'm Scott.
I'm Jason.
I'm Ryan, and that's
Steve Roby.
all right. And we're signing out, people. Until the next one. Thank you guys for signing in.
Bye.
Bye.